All right. So with that, let's get into some contract whatever. What am I even saying? Some contract restructures. We start out with linebacker Blake Martinez, the linebacker signed by the New York Giants. Was that a couple off seasons ago now? He's restructured his contract to remain with the New York Giants in 2022. So he's not going to get traded like the rumors of maybe him and also the guy signed in the same free agency period, James Bradbury. At least for Martinez's sake, he will not be traded, you would think, because he's going to take a cap hit to his contract. Okay, he led the league in tackles in 2017. He led the Giants in tackles in the 2020 season, and has been a key staple for the G-men defensively. As we could tell from when he was healthy in the 2020 season to when he was injured in the 2021 season, the Giants defense is better with Martinez. We know this already. And Jordan Schultz, who was the one who reported this, I think, help this out. Made Giants fans feel a little better. I think that Blake Martinez is going to stay with this team and that he's, taking a cap hit to stay with the Giants, restructuring his contract.
Yeah, Blake Martinez, certainly a big part of this team. Tore his ACL last season, where we really missed him, actually, with Tay Crowder taking over as the number one. If you look at Blake Martinez and his salary, so he has, if we were to have cut him, we would have saved $8.5 million while taking on a $5.5 million dead cap hit. My guess is that he reduced his salary to that, similar to Sterling Shepard, who had a $8 million cap hit. I assume they kind of balanced it out so that way the cap hit, there won't be a cap hit, kind of eliminating, basically saving the same amount of money without eliminating, without hitting the dead cap, if that makes any sense. So, for example, with the $8.5 million of cap savings, he might have reduced his rate by $8.5 million to stay with the Giants, for example, similar to how Sterling Shepard reduced his rate. We'll get to that in a second, by around $4.5 million, which is his cut, which is his cap number that would lower what we'd save. So that, if that makes any sense, we're saving the same but keeping the player. That was way longer than it had to be for a very simple concept.
It's all right. Let's go on to Sterling Shepard so we keep the audience here with us, right? And they're not going anywhere else. Wide receiver Sterling Shepard of the New York Giants, the longest tenured Giant member to this point, and he's only, 28 years old, I want to say. Alex, you can maybe double check that for me. He's returning on a reworked one-year deal with the team. That was from Jordan Ronan as well, ESPN reporter for the New York Giants. He previously signed through 2023, but Giants fans rumored that because of the injury history, because of how he's like the number 3, number 4 wide receiver on the step chart behind guys like Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, and also someone like Darius Slayton, right? He might be wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, although probably we have him over Slayton. But I think that you have to keep this into consideration. We're keeping Shepard. He's another depth piece. But I still think you need to bring in at least one more wide receiver just to complete the wide receiver tree. I think either a late round, 4th, 5th, 6th round draft pick in the NFL draft upcoming in the next month or so. Maybe bring in a cheap guy in free agency. Again, I don't want the Giants spending so much money, but maybe spend a draft pick on a wide receiver. It's not the worst thing in the world. Shepard's new deal, I don't know if you're talking about this yet, Alex, $5.25 million. That's the max value. And he was scheduled to make $8.5 million. So he comes back and can make a good chunk of money throughout the season, depending on depending on how many games he plays, right, and how many catches, yards. It's one of those type of deals.
Yeah. So Jordan Ronan said that he's guesstimating that the Giants probably will save in the range of $6 million in cap space with the move, which they only would have made, like I mentioned before. They would have only saved about $4.5 million by cutting him. So you're gaining an extra $1.5 million and keeping the player. So Sterling Shepard, I think, is a good receiver when he's on the field. When he's on the field. That's the most key point that I just said, when he's on the field. I think he's our number 2 receiver when he's on the field. but
Right.
he's not usually on the field. So
And he was out more games than we even expected last season. You were like, all right, maybe, I don't know, maybe he stays on the field more often, but no, he missed a lot. How many games? Like 8 games last year? I don't remember.
He's always bound to miss in the 4 to 5 game range, but last year was a few games too many. It kind of felt like with him. And for Martinez, I feel like if they had cut him, there's suitors elsewhere. For Shepard, I'm not so sure if there is. So I think he actually still got a good deal here. And he's still probably making more money than he should. But it's still good for the Giants in terms of saving cap for this season. And we'll see what happens with James Bradberry, because that looks like it's the next domino to fall. I'm going to suspect it's a trade, but it very well could be a cut if we cannot find a partner.
All right, so I just checked myself. So Sterling Shepard, the longest tenured Giant, is 29 years old. He suffered a torn Achilles in his left leg, I guess this past season. And he had 36 catches for 366 yards and a touchdown in 7 games last season. Although I think 3 or 4 of them were with Daniel Jones, and in those games, the connection between those two were good. Daniel Jones having experience with Sterling Shepard, and we know from the confirmation from Joe Shane and Brian Dable, Jones is the quarterback for this upcoming season. So they have the connection. They know each other well. And that's, I'm sure, also led to why Shepard, is being brought back by the Giants. He has 349 receptions for 3,884 yards and 21 touchdowns in his 6 professional seasons.